For how long will the strike by the Joint Drivers Welfare Association of Nigeria continue, and who will bear the brunt? Security remains a major concern amongst Nigerians and even foreigners within the country, even though the government has said there's no cause for alarm. Can people, especially in the federal capital, really go about their activities without fear? There have been cases of kidnapping in the last couple of days. Matter of fact, I have at least 3 close friends who have got either family members or people that work for them kidnapped. And when last did you go to the market? I sent someone over the weekend. I know how much I bought a bag of rice. It is crazy. Have you experienced an increase in the price of other foodstuff like I did? If your answer is yes, which I think it actually is, this may not be far from the flood that has submerged many farmlands across the country. All of these will get us talking on the show this evening. A very good evening to you wherever you are. Tuned into the nation's #1 talk station, 99.3 Nigeria Info. It is time for the Newsroom, a program where we'll take a critical review of some of the big stories that have happened over the course of the previous week. Ufuoma Egbamuno is my name, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show. Thankfully, my partner in crime, even though he would argue that he's got no crime he's committed, is on the show this evening. Aghogho Oboh, a very good evening to you. How's the Shakumaku land?
Yeah, Shakumaku. Acquitted, not discharged. So,
who are you taking a dig at?
As long as we're partners in crime, it means that we're acquitted but not discharged.
No, let DSS come find you.
Shakumaku, everyone, and it's a pleasure for me to go through what we've been working on this past week.
Okay, we are trying to laugh here. For someone like me, thank goodness for the management of Wazobia Info. I'm forever grateful. I will not deny that fact. It's been 10 years since I started working in this company. And almost all 10 years, I've had, special arrangements where I live very close to the office. And so it takes away a whole lot of stress. But some of my other colleagues, and I'm sure some of you listening to the show right now, are not as, would I say, fortunate or lucky as I am. Because you had to go through, or matter of fact, you're going through that stress right now. You're possibly standing the bus stop, listening to the radio via your phone, or you found a way to squeeze yourself into one car, and you're possibly listening to Nigeria Info. I'm sure it's not been a great day for you. That's because, of course, the Joint Drivers Welfare Association of Nigeria commenced their 7-day strike today. It didn't come as a bolt from the blue, Aghogho. We all knew it was coming, and hopefully we thought that there will be some form of conversations between this association and the state government. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So Lagosians woke up this morning as they usually do, and of course went to work or went through the stress of long hours at bus stops, and tripling or sometimes doubling of transport fares. Well, I've got 2 of our correspondents in the studio. We've got Ken Dome, who is right here, and I've got, of course, Precious Nenna Okon. And both of them, one of them is from the trenches. The other one is from, how do they call it again? Apologies. That was me trying to take a joke. But this is a serious issue. Should not be one to joke with. Let me start with Ken. Ken, you're coming from the Aja axis, all the way to work in VI. How was it like for you this morning?
It was it was really terrible. Like, really, really terrible, because first, I had to wake up really early.
How early? 4 a.m.?
As early as 5 o'clock.
Okay.
The idea is to beat traffic and get to the office early and not get to pay so much on transport. But as I should have it, or as God should have it, or whatever it is, I got there. I got to my bus stop at Abijo, And I noticed that there was a lot of crowd. Initially, I thought, okay, probably there is something going on. And when I got there, everybody's trying to stop a bus. And at that point, it dawned on me, because like you said, the Newsroom has been talking about it throughout last week, that bus drivers are going to go on strike. So it then dawned on me that,
this strike is actually starting.
Exactly. So at that point, I started trekking towards VI. Not like I got to VI, but I finally got a bus.
Where did you get the bus?
I got the bus close to what's that bus stop? I can't really pinpoint the bus stop, but it was like 2 bus stops after my own bus stop. Yeah. So I saw the bus stopped. I noticed people were not willing to enter. And when I asked him, okay, I'm going to stop at Sanfield, how much? The guy said 1-2.
On a normal day, how much do you pay?
On a normal day, I pay 600.
So that's double the price.
Exactly.
Wow.
And guess what? The guy was not willing to budge. Or guy, go enter, no go enter.
If you no enter, let me find another person.
So initially I told him, guy, I might give you 1K. He said no. 1-2. You know, go enter, shift me, other people enter.
Hey, Jesus.
I had to just, I forced myself, I paid, I stayed in. And guess what? I entered the bus and then the guy started playing Christian music. I'm like, okay.
That was quite hilarious. Okay. So it's been a while. I actually got into a bus in Lagos. It's been a while, but as a Lagosian, I'm a proud Lagosian. I was born here, even though I left at a tender age. Aghogho wants to question my Lagosianness, but let it be known to the whole world that I was born at the General Hospital in Aghogho. So just so you know, you cannot question my Lagosness.
It's an overrated experience.
But the point I was trying to make is that usually when I go out, as a result of my physical condition, I try not to struggle, with people, so I don't get pushed. I usually go to the parks. I know when you go to the parks, you most likely pay a lot more. And the reason I do that is most times I like to sit in front, so I pay for the double seat, keep my crutches, have all the space to myself. But when there are issues like fuel scarcity or this kind of, I don't go out. I don't, because I know that ideally, instead of paying the double I usually pay, I have to pay times 4, of what that's me, and this some years ago. So I have an idea of what you passed through this morning. But let's speak to Nena. Nena, you were coming from the Keja axis, down to the island. What was it like?
Okay, so I had to come from my 12 to Ojota.
Okay.
When I got to Ojota, the crowd there was massive. A lot of people waiting for bus. Yaba, they were calling 500, and normally for Ojota would have been 300.
Okay.
But it was 500. In fact, I was there. One woman was trying to bargain 300. The conductor just told her if she didn't want to enter, she should not worry. They're going to pick up somebody else along the road. So the woman had to just stay to get another driver. Then I got a bus to Maryland. From Maryland, I entered to GRA, which was where I was going to. So on my way back to the office from GRA, there was bus, but the crowd wasn't so much. But just hold your money.
That time would be around 10 a.m.
Yes, around 10.
So you could argue that the crowd had reduced. People had gone to work.
But the price was the issue.
Still constant.
Yes, the price was. So the first park I went to, 500. When I hesitated, the man said, yeah, they go now. So I moved forward. I saw 400. I entered. When I entered 400, immediately the bus got filled. The conductor said it's now 500.
Wow. Woo.
Everybody was confused. Nobody could talk. We just had to pay the 500.
Because you've entered already. You don't want to come down again and start going through the process. But I'll go. Let's really talk about this. Usually these issues, come up. And after a day or two, it feels like things go back to normal.
Yeah.
Are we expecting that kind of scenario? Maybe it don't happen today. Maybe a little bit of it tomorrow. And by Wednesday, things will go back to normal. Is that maybe what the government is looking at? Say, no worry, it will pan out after a few days.
In fact, I wagered that this would not last for more than 30 minutes. But I'm surprised that some people actually did stick to their guns. I don't know what the road looks like out, presently, but. They make their money as it comes on the daily, on the hourly basis. And you remember in previous industrial actions carried out by the NLC and TUC, the week part of the weak link had often been the transporters. They by 5 p.m., 6 p.m. resume work most times. So whether they can continue with this. All right, that was.
Apologies.
Yeah, that was Ufuoma.
Yeah, it was me.
So whether they will continue, whether they will be able to do this again tomorrow, I'm not too sure because they will tell you. I don't know how united they are for them to say that for a second day they're going to stay away from the parks or stay away from, But it's just unfortunate that this could have been prevented. Ufuoma. Look at the numbers of people who have to go through public transport from their own side. The government buses, the BRT, they're not enough. They've never been enough from day one, and which is why they're trying to make the rail system work. And maybe until that happens, they'll have a stranglehold. I dare say maybe 80%, 85% of the mass transport system lies in private hands. So they have, the longer this goes on, the more suffering this will be for Lagosians. But just like you said, I'm not too sure this can go on for more than.
But then again, if we look critically at the reasons being given by the association or why they are going on this strike, you could argue that they've got a point. I've always wondered. So, like I said, I was born here. I left, at a very tender age. I came back when I was almost 19 or thereabout. And I stayed back in Lagos. That's from 1999 to about 2012 when I left for Port Harcourt due to work. It always amazed me those years that I was back in Lagos. Every time I got into bus and all that, fight between conductors, drivers, and the union people. I always kept asking myself, when on earth is this going to stop? But you look at what the drivers are going through, the multiple or taxation, so to speak. They pay Oboh this here, pay Oboh that here, and
what did they get? What did they get in return?
Exactly.
Nothing. They're not protected from anything. They don't have any health insurance. There's absolutely nothing. And there's so many, and it's so opaque. You can't see any transparency in how this money is collected. I mean, you wake up one morning, and if you count the number of they have to pay, it's ridiculous. And we've often wondered why the Lagos state government hasn't taken an active role in this whole mess.
If there's one criticism, that the Lagos state government, starting way back from the Bola Ahmed Tinubu era, down till present day, it's the inability, to cut down on some of these excesses. There are a couple of things we might not be able to say on air. I lived in an area back in along the Badagry Expressway where I had the headquarters, of this union on my street, and I can tell you for a fact how all of these monies collected on the road, how they pass through the channel and come back to my street, where I live. But like I said, a couple of things we might not be able to say on air.
You were an insider. For you to understand how the chain works.
No, I was not an insider. I just happened to live on the street.
I've never understood how the money moves.
The funny thing. The funny thing.
Oh dear.
One of the leaders, a few years after, was given a chieftaincy title. He was the Bale of that community, and it always amazed me, So it's a chain sadly that cannot just be cut off, by mere talking on radio. It's become a systemic problem, that Lagos has had to deal with over the years. And like I said, if there's one criticism of the whether it's the AD or the ACN or as it is presently now APC government in the last 22 years, it is this problem, between transport union and the bus drivers or the road workers, that has never ceased to amaze. Hopefully, this can be resolved and Lagosians will not suffer again. Because I don't want to imagine what people are going through.
I remember when the candidates would come, including the governor, and the question often, interestingly, he has transport in his,
themes agenda.
Agenda then. And the question they were always asked was around transport policy. What's the face of Lagos public transport system? It's an eyesore. whether it's in Oshodi or Mile 12, it's complete confusion. So we hope that they can use the opportunity to redefine the face of public transport in Lagos with the buses. The Danfos, the Vanagons, and all of them are still going to remain. It has to be in a very transparent way, you know. I can't imagine it. You know, even before this whole thing happened, if you walk around the major areas, whether it's in CMS or, you know, on the island, Ajah, TBS, the crowd of people. In fact, the hardest journey for people to make many times is from their office to the bus stop. And then, I mean, I see people trying to hail private vehicles and they don't know who they are.
Sadly, it's now private vehicles have now become a mode of transportation. You know, the economy has gotten so bad, so people who own cars, thankfully for them, now use it as a form of, you know, transportation. People get to pay,
and the risk is high.
Exactly, the risk is high because sometimes you don't even know who you're picking up. I remember when I used to, you know, the few months I stayed in Ajah, you know, sometimes my rule actually was when it's dark, I don't pick anybody. I usually pick, you know, a few persons when the day is bright, and I've never for once, you know, collected. If some persons have offered to buy, and I'll say no, don't worry. I just make sure either one or two persons in the car, drop them wherever they want to go. But not everybody is as benevolent, you know, as I am. For some persons, that money they collect help them to buy the petrol, you know, that gets to carry them for the whole month, which is okay. But like you rightly said, you stand the risk of possibly picking a stranger who, you know, you never can tell what's going to happen. Well, this is an ongoing conversation. We can never stop talking about it. So hopefully in the course of the week, our reporters, you know, would keep bringing us updates and would tell you more about it in our news reports. Let's move on quickly now to security concerns, because over the last 2 weeks or thereabout, it has not been great for the country. Earlier today, President Muhammadu Buhari met with security chiefs before he jetted out. He's jetted out, yeah? Aghogho. He's gone already. our
president has traveled again.
President, we hello.
Well, so the way he started is the way he's probably going to end, most likely. Very predictable, you know.
Anyway, I had my thoughts and my opinions about his travel to Seoul. Was it last week? And that absolutely ridiculous press statement put out by Garba Shehu. Sometimes, because of the job, you know, because of the positions we have, it's quite difficult, you know, for us to say what we really think. Well, I don't know about you, Aghogho. Personally, for me, there are certain things I want to say, but when I remember that, you know, I live in the newsroom of Nigeria Info, and it's very easy to misinterpret my personal thoughts as the thoughts of the organization. You know, I just shut up, or I just say what I want to say in a very coded language. Because if it was the ordinary Ufuoma Egbamuno before he became a journalist, my word, the things I would have, the vitriol I would have directed, not insults. So no, you know, you can actually say your mind without being insulting. But the things I would have said, you know, about the president's junketing, that's what I would call it, you know, all around the world when there's fire on the mountain. Well, today he actually had a
security
meeting, and we're hoping to, you know, to have our correspondent in Abuja join us on the show in a bit. But just before he does, Aghogho, security meeting. At first, when the whole alerts were coming out from the embassies, some persons were looking at it as it was a joke, or some even went as far as saying, "Oh, they're just trying to destabilize the country," you know. But the one thing I kept saying, you know, for the last 2 or 3 weeks was, these guys are not going to be throwing out these alerts just for throwing sake. There's something going on, or there's something they've seen or they've heard, you know, that is making all of these warnings come into play. And we don't want to get to the point where we are going, God forbid, and then something bad is happening.
Yeah, true. And we've always been concerned, especially the states which border the FCT, Kogi, Niger, Nasarawa, Kaduna State. They've got their own local problems to deal with. So a bit surprised why people were surprised that the United States would react in this sort of way. And then I wish, a lot of we journalists wish that the national security advisor, like he briefed the media after today's meeting, in a more, compelling way than every other person jumping on it from the government side, to attack people and say that what they are saying is blah, is fake news, is this. So he eventually said, good, yes, this is what we're dealing with. The United States and Nigeria share information, and probably they won't have said, but they told them that, look, these are our citizens, which goes back to that
exactly.
argument. These are our citizens, and we are obligated
to inform our
citizens in this way. Nigeria has its own rules in the way they take their own citizens. We may not take ourselves that seriously, but I'm not sure that the way it was treated in the beginning was done in the best
from our own government.
Yeah.
But we've got Emmanuel Madabuchi, who's our defense correspondent out there in Abuja. Emmanuel, very good evening to you. Welcome to the newsroom.
Yeah, good evening, Ufuoma. Good evening.
Let's start by asking you. We do know that President Buhari had that security meeting with security chiefs. Tell us what has been the outcome. We've heard the briefing from the NSC, but generally, what was the outcome for you?
I think the meeting was to get more briefing from the service chief to know how they are on ground to ensure that the threats that's been issued is not being actually carried out in the city. So I think they had to brief him on what is happening in the city and how they've tried to curtail or condone the situation in the city.
All right. So from what you've observed so far, what has it been like in Abuja? I just left Abuja, I think 2 weeks ago or thereabout, 2 or 3 weeks. 2 weeks ago, yeah. I was in Abuja for about 5 days. This was before the terror threat, was announced by the embassies, and it was relatively calm, and all of it was quite good. So, what is Abuja like in the last 1 week or thereabouts?
Okay, Abuja is calm. Those that there are less vehicles on the road. Vehicular movements are very low, unlike before. There are less cars on the road. Then there are more security checkpoints and stop and search at various junctions. So once you get to a junction, the police accost you, they check your car, check who's in the vehicle, what you have in the boot, and to know if there's any thing in it that is contrary to what they're looking for. Everywhere is calm. I think previously the malls were shut, but they've reopened. Clubbing, for the clubs, they issued a statement that clubbers can stay at home. They shouldn't come, because of the way the city is.
Abuja people will like Jaye. That one now a big problem.
They go do virtual clubbing. Dance in front of Zoom and Skype. But Emmanuel, also help us. I know there was a video put out some time back saying that the people who were seen in the particular viral video or picture were foreign intel. Foreign security operatives, but now we know it wasn't so. It was actually expats who were moving out of the hotels they had been kept in the wake of this threat. But generally, what about the expatriates? Are they still moving out of the FCT? What have you seen and heard so far?
From what I gathered, they are still around, though some have left, but very few of them are still available. But operations at the various embassies have ceased. Because I took that route this morning, and most of the offices are closed, unlike before where you go to see an influx of persons there, but they are no longer operating. It's just the security operatives you see at the entrance with their offices closed.
All of now where they planned Jackpot before.
Some of them are still around, but most of them, a good number of them have left because they are not working. So they've left them to United States of America.
But you in your walk around the major districts in Abuja and even the outskirts, what are people saying? Are they afraid, or are they just let's watch and see what happens?
Some of them are expressing fear, but some are saying let's see, because since they said the IGP has assured them that they are safe, and the president gave that reassurance yesterday and also today. So some of them are still available. They are not scared. They are just waiting to see what will happen.
Okay, Emmanuel Madabuchi, thank you very much for joining us on the newsroom this evening. We appreciate your thoughts from Abuja. How are you enjoying Abuja, by the way?
I'm really enjoying the city, though it's quite novel to me, but I'm trying to make myself comfortable and enjoy the town. I love this place.
Okay, Emmanuel, the next time I'm in Abuja, my lunch and my dinner is on you.
No problem. No problem.
All right. That was, of course, Emmanuel Madabuchi, our correspondent. He just left Port Harcourt, by the way. Worked with a number of years in Port Harcourt, but just got transferred to Abuja. Okay, great. But I'll go. Let me come back to you on this one before we get into our third discussion today, which has got to do with floods and how it is affecting food prices. It's not a laughing matter anymore. But before we talk about that, the rate of kidnapping looks like it has gone an extra notch up. There were reported cases, I think about 2 cases on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway over the course of the week. Like I said in my intro, I know at least 3 of my close pals who have got ongoing ransom negotiation issues as we speak. You know, I live in Lagos. My family are in Port Harcourt, and I won't lie, it gets me worried every day.
Absolutely.
I do not want to get into, God forbid, but I do not want to get into that situation where you now have to start negotiating ransom with these criminals or terrorists.
Yeah, it's insane. You know, the young ones. I mean, growing up, it was easy for you to walk around town, buy stuff here and there, you know, go play ball, come back. Everybody was everyone's. I agreed, even though there was crime then too, but
not this rate.
I mean, to send a 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old child around the block to go and buy groceries now, your heart is in your mouth all through. I mean, it was
even when you send adults to you're scared.
You're looking out of the window. Why haven't you come back yet? I mean, back in the days, we'd be out for hours playing ball and, you know, doing stuff, and don't think of where you are sometimes even up to 8, 9 p.m. But now it's frightening, and I do think about what sort of society we're building for the children, because Ufuoma, there's this cauldron of fear even with the children. I mean, sometimes children are watching the news because you want them to also be aware of the country. I mean, it's our and we know usually how our news stories look like. It's like watching Nollywood of horror stories. Story 1, 2, 3, 4. And you have to keep explaining to the children, you know, this is what is going on. It won't be forever, but this has been going on for way too long. Even the president tells us that by December, we're going to begin to see a dip. This is November already, Ufuoma. Except by some stroke of miracle, we'll see this begin to drop. But right now, nothing shows us that there's going to be any letting down
anytime soon. Food security over the last 3 weeks or thereabout. Consistently on Nigeria Info, we've tried to, you know, discuss the flood issues in and across the country, you know, and the different aspects of it. Food inflation, the prices of things going up, it's a menace, it's a big problem. And we had, I think it was our guest, the former commissioner of Bayelsa State last week, you know, who talked about, hello, good evening, sir. Good evening. I'm very well. Just hold on the line. I'll get to you in a minute. You know, I was talking about our guest from last week who, you know, talked about how the floods had affected Bayelsa and Rivers State, you know, affected crops, you know, and the effects that it was going to show. In fact, it's not even that it's going to show. It's already showing right now. I asked Nena last week to help me buy rice. and the prices she was calling, I'm like, I don't understand. I'm not going to chop again. You know, it's not funny. But we have got a guest, you know, who's already joined us on the show. He is he is the President General of the Ogikpele community in Oboh local government area of Anambra State. Honorable Madukwe Sunday Victor, thank you very much for joining us on Nigeria Info. Okay, I think I got my names mixed up. We actually have the secretary of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Kano State, Mr. Musa Shehu, on the line. Thank you very much, Mr. Shehu, for joining us this evening.
I'm not hearing you very well, please.
Can you hear me now?
I'm not hearing you very well now.
Hello?
Hello, I cannot hear you very well.
Can you hear us, Musa Shehu?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Can you call me again? I'm not hearing you very
All
well.
right.
Okay,
we'll call it again.
we'll try and do that. Sometimes technology can... Ken, you people and this your technology. Sometimes it can be a problem. But as I was saying, rice has gone up, beans has gone up, oil has gone up, almost everything has gone up. Like, literally, I had to add extra money to the money I usually give the woman of the house every month for upkeep. Hello, Mr. Shehu, can you hear us now? Hello?
I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Shehu is the secretary of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Kano State, and he joins us to talk about how these floods have affected farmers. We hear that your farmland was submerged by flood. Can you just tell us when this happened and what's the current situation?
Mostly in every year we used to face this problem of flooding in our areas. Especially, we have 44 local government in Kano State, but about 29 are always affected. This year also, this 29 local government was affected with this flooding. And definitely, as I'm telling you now, for those who are carrying on the right season farming has a lot of problems and challenges. And even those who have already planted during rainy season, they have got a lot of loss in many areas of our land. I don't know when our people can understand the way they can address the situation and also control issues. The government should intervene because we are living in a difficult condition, being that most of our farmland has been erased by this flooding.
So how has it affected food distribution in Kano State and across the state?
It will affect the food distribution now because the production is very low now. It's very, very low. We are expecting to have 100 tons in those areas. Now it will not be more than 30 tons because most of the plant has been destroyed by the flooding. And we have already reported this to the government and all agencies concerned. The record has been taken. Even the minister, when he comes, he has seen things by his own eyes. Things are going worse. And we have went up data to say now because still we are collecting data from farmers.
So tell us, Mr. Usman, how people have been coping with the situation which you paint, because I can imagine it's been very tough for people, farmers especially.
We are only managing. We are only calling people to come into rescue of those people, especially those who want to do in the society. They used to help other people because we have a person who has 3 farmland, about 10 hectares of land, but he didn't get a single corn out of his own planting.
Wow.
And you have to help him. That's how people are suffering now. He has family. He has a lot of people that are responsible on him. And we need to know where to start. And still the government doesn't do anything about it. We are waiting. They say they collected the data and they are going to do something. But really people are suffering. They are only managing the situation. And, in such condition, poverty is always rising. That is what leads to the social vices. That is why we are saying that government should intervene. Well-to-do people in the society shall come into our rescue. Our farmers are suffering now. I don't know how to explain the conditions they are in.
So just to be clear, the state government, the Kano state government, is yet to go through with any intervention for you guys.
Yes, exactly. They started in some area, but now they stop it because they want to have authentic data. But they started in some areas, but it has been stopped. Now they are collecting the authentic data before they continue. And we are working hand in hand with the state government to see that they have already intervened.
All right, Mr. Shehu, thank you very much for joining us. And we also want to, express our heartfelt sympathy to you and the other farmers out there in Kano who have had to deal with this very, very devastating floods.
Thank you.
All right, that was, of course, Mr. Musa Shehu. He is the secretary of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria in Kano State, giving us his thoughts right there. Sadly, we'll not be able to take, unable to get through to our, our other guest, who we had planned to speak to from Anambra State, which is also another state, Aghogho, that, has had devastating floods. Where do we go from here? I was talking about how ridiculous that statement put out by Garba Shehu last week, talking about a 90-day plan for goodness sake, you knew this was going to happen. You didn't plan for it. Just when we were criticizing the president for, attending seminars or whatever it is, the president was attending, that for some of us really did not, really was not as important as the over 600 people that are dead, and the over 3 million people who have been displaced as a result of these floods. That's when your presidential media aide is putting out, bring the Minister of Water Resources, let him come and give us a 90-day plan. People are going through hell as we speak. Is it because the president is not contesting for elections next year? That's why he has not visited, any person that has been affected by the floods. As far as I'm concerned, it just shows how nonchalant and insensitive the government we have presently is. Because I'm sure if President Buhari was contesting for election next year, he or the vice president will be at the forefront of visiting people who have been affected. But instead, he chose to go to Seoul to go and attend one. In fact, make a no talk.
The command center will have been operating right from in the 6 geopolitical zones. These 33 states have been affected. So we don't need to wait for any national emergency or state. Just for the people to see. The fact people are laughing through, I've seen some pictures in Bielsa of people smiling through the suffering. But
doesn't mean that they are not going through it.
Going through hell. They just don't have any other choice to do. Who would want to live on the roof of his house for it's almost a month now that this has been in Bielsa, for example, and the Delta and all those places.
People battling reptiles, snakes in their homes,
So I'm happy that the media has shone its light on this thing. I will continue to keep shining our light and hope that, good willing people, will continue to donate as much as they will. But we need the floods to start to recede as quickly as possible. What is killing people now is more than what the flash floods had done. So we'll keep our eyes on this and see how it plays out.
Hopefully in the course of the week we'll continue to talk about these flood issues. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us on this week's edition of the Newsroom. Thank you to Ken and to Precious, for also joining us, and of course the production team, Precious Nena Okon and Emmanuel Onwoka, were actually responsible for producing this show. Hopefully we'll be back again next week, Monday, from 15 minutes past 6 o'clock hour. Until then, stay safe, people. My name is Ufuoma Egbamuno, and I've done this with Aghogho Oboh.
You are listening to your number